What is up? We are live, at least until they shut us down. It's Friday. Let's see. Anything interesting happen over the last couple of anything? I mean, nothing really interesting has happened in crypto the last couple of days. It's been pretty quiet. There hasn't really been any news that I can think of off the top of my head. Anything, Alex? Anything come to mind as being interesting lately?
No. Maybe Gene Simmons. That's probably the biggest news.
Gene Simmons. Yes. Gene Simmons is what's interesting. Let me tell you what's interesting. I'm going to first say hi to everyone in Clubhouse. Mono, Nico, Michaela, Lori, Trey, Brandon, Rosalind, Oliver, Gino, my man, Chelsea, Alameen, what's up? Alameen, every time I read his name, I always think Aladdin. I don't know if you, anyway, that's terrible, but it always makes me laugh. Remember, the doctor's like, there's good news. You're HIV Aladdin. And he's like, what is it? All right. Anyway, Antonio, what's going on? Let me bring Antonio up over here in Clubhouse. Bam. There you go. Great. Welcome to the team. Carlos, Nesh, Tyler. Okay. Now as we jump over here to Theta, we have Biotech Breakout, Veritax. We have Mr. Dwight Schrute, infamous. We have Belinda Cook. We have Scorpion over here on YouTube. We've got Leon. We've got Jimmy James, P. Kelly, Sylvia, Nesh, JJ, Michael Murphy across the pond, Demayan, Adam, what's up? Ella Paul, Tom, what's going on, Tom? Yeah, okay, so cool. We'll go ahead and get started. Interesting stuff ahead. We're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about prices. We're going to attempt to open this goddamn package of NBA Top Shots. We're going to give it a go. But first, there are a couple things we should address. So we will get to that in just a second. Let's do some opening graphics. So this has a semblance of a show. We'll be right back. Alex, first of all, Alex, how unfair of me. Alex, say hi and tell us a little bit about who in the hell is Alex.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Alex Alexander Owens, a full name. What? It's such a question. It's the question like what? There's so much to someone, right? I've known Nick for a good amount of time now. We both have a love of this digital asset space. I do a lot of consulting for I really was sales and medical over the last probably 4 or 5 years, and built some good companies together. Worked out especially in the sales outsourcing space, but over the last really year, but 2.5 years, been in the blockchain space. And that's where we're at, and just trying to share some knowledge and have a good time on crypto and coffee.
There we go. Sorry about that. Back and forth. Sometimes there's weird feedback in the mic, and I have anti-echo on. And what anti-echo likes to do is not respond. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. We have, I'm figuring it out. We have the NBA Top Shots. We have a pack. We have successfully purchased this pack. You can see this pack. This pack exists. We haven't been able to open it in 3 days because their website gets overwhelmed. Now, I'm on the page right now. I refreshed it. It says open pack. We're not going to open the pack yet. No, we got to get through prices. And let me say hello to Sniper Princess, Ghost, Cece Brown, Cabeza de Termo, SJO Theta TV, Tommy Bernard. What's going on? Also, David, Hollow, Kenny, Leon, and Tyler, Danette, Krista. Hello to everyone. Bill. Cool. Okay, we got through all that. It almost seems too easy. Let's go over and let's take a look at the elephant in the room. So it's been flirting. Oh, flirting. It's not flirting. It's full on. This is like, we're not even on the first date anymore. It's just full on like we're dating. It's 54,550. Let me see. Let me tee this one up for you, Alex. There's been 2 days where it was best to buy Bitcoin. The first day was January 3rd, 2009. Do you know what the second day was?
Yesterday.
And today and tomorrow and every single day after that. Literally every day. The cool thing, if you're in the crypto space, and I'm not a maxi, you guys should know that by now. I'm not an anything maxi other than just wealth and overall happiness, and maybe I'm a McLaren maximalist. I'll give you that. But other than that, I am just an overall success maximalist. But anytime you ever told anyone to buy Bitcoin, you were fucking right. You were right. It's so many people are like, I don't know, this internet money, it's the nerd. I don't want to hear your shit. You were right. Anybody that told anybody to ever buy Bitcoin, you were right. Price-wise, anybody that ever told anybody to buy Ethereum, you were right. Polkadot, you were right. Plus or minus a penny, maybe 6 pennies. Cardano, you were right. XRP, XLM, we won't talk about that. At Cosmos, you were right. Theta, you were right. Neo, not yet. VeChain, you were definitely right. VeChain's kicking nutsacks. GRT, near. We're going to talk about these things. We're going to go through them. There is some interesting news that's not all Bitcoin and Cardano, but not much. But there's some interesting news. Graph Token is opening up to a bunch of other platforms, which is great. And the way Graph Token is just, Graph is an interesting project. And luckily they've kind of spun out and they're saying, hey, listen, we're going to open these Graph servers to other platforms to make it easier for new entrants in the development side of the crypto space. That's incredibly important. Where the developers go, crypto goes, right? So the investors are just one side of it, but we're all just speculating on what the developers are going to do. 54,000, what does that kind of mean? Well, if you'll notice here, this is kind of a moment. This is a line in the sand that's incredibly important. The Bitcoin market cap is now over 1 trillion. That's not nothing. What do you think, Alex?
I mean, just from the psychological standpoint, it's just more validation, right? A trillion by itself, we were excited for the whole space to be a trillion. Now you have the kind of the king, the big kid in the sand at 1 trillion. He's finally grown up and maybe starting to hit puberty.
You remember last week what the price was? Last Friday?
47?
It's about 47. Yeah. 47, 48. You know what the price was the Friday before that? It was about 37. That was about 37. You know what the price was the Friday before that? It was about 30. 2 weeks before that, the price was about 26. 2 weeks before that, the price was about 16. 2 weeks, but dear God, man, how fucking fast is this thing going to move? There's a certain point where I think we have to stop buying into the bull market arguments and start saying these are network effects. And these are network effects plus panic, plus FOMO, plus all of these other things that do kick in. And it reminds me back, I talked about it yesterday a little bit, but whenever you're trying to discuss, people are like, well, it's a bull market. It's a bull, what? And people say, well, what's a bull market? I mean, okay, well, what's a bubble? What's a bubble? How's that any different than a bull market? So there's two ways you can look at it. The Supreme Court was asked to determine what is pornography. And they said, we can't tell you what pornography is, but we know when we see it. And so when you're looking at these markets, there's two perspectives. One, this is a bull market that will certainly, be deflated anytime soon because this is mania. This is crazy. That's one perspective, right? That would be the kind of bubbly perspective. The other perspective is these are network effects. And one could argue that it's been basically up and to the right for about 12 years. And there was a patch there where things got a little bit overheated, but basically the trend is pretty consistent. I tend to fall in that camp. I think we got way over our skis in 2017. And I would argue that if you cut off November, December, January of 2017 leading into 2018, you get a much more a fair look at what the price or what the value to people of Bitcoin was, if you cut off that nonsense of those kind of 90 days. Here, what do you think Bitcoin does? I mean, and you don't have to guess a price, but what do you think the general trend of Bitcoin is over the next 6 to 8 months? What's your gut tell you?
I still kind of would always go back to some of the analysis of some of these banks, right? Like, I know we don't like to bring them in, but again, they were talking about, 6 figures at that point. So how it's moving, more stimulus coming, more just investors. I literally can't go a few minutes without someone texting me, right? Like, it's just like nonstop. Hey, should I buy more of this and that? Just everything, right? Or do I need to get in? What's the deal? It has to be. I mean, it just seems like it's got a gradual avalanche of flow. So up and to the right, I hate to say that, but that kind of looks what Bitcoin's going to be for a while. I don't see anything stopping it personally.
I tend to agree with you. We'll probably, by the time this broadcast is done, we'll be looking at 55,000. It's a lot of fun right now. These are the good days. The bad days were like last Sunday when it was red and people weren't used to red markets and people were vomiting and, oh my God, we're down 14%. But look, if we go up 5% a day, 3% a day, every day, day in, day out, it's okay if on the weekends it takes a breather. It's okay to give some back. You haven't sold anything yet. The beauty of the crypto space is like playing poker. And if you don't like your hand, you just wait until it's a winning hand. Just wait. At some point, it's going to be a winning hand. And I think a lot of people judge as if their life is measured, as if when they're walking on the street, people go, oh, Bitcoin's down 12% today. Look at that loser. Right? Like it's okay. It's okay for these things to kind of vacillate. I think there's a greater story here that we're just starting to talk about more, which is this story of liquidity to illiquidity, meaning the liquidity of these exchanges. And what were we saying yesterday? What did you think the float was? Somewhere 3-ish?
Yeah, well, the lower is what the analysis that I saw. They said as low as 2.3 million on the exchanges.
So what happens when that number gets down to 1 million? What kind of shitting in your pants panic ensues?
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult. That's going to be the most interesting time. But then obviously that's going to reflect a price at that point, because it's going to be such a scarce, we'll call it almost a commodity at that point. So yeah, that's where I think these 6-figure kind of projections came from, because I think they realized that the supply is a real thing. And it's really easy to see that people aren't moving. They're not selling. They are getting that shit to cold storage.
Yeah. And so think about this, people. You originally had, the unearthing of Bitcoin, and through the years, there've been more Bitcoin through mining that's exposed onto these exchanges and things like that. Now we're in the 18 and change million range. It's supposed that up to between 5 and 6 million Bitcoin have been lost permanently, or at least until there's some other mechanism for retrieving those private keys. It doesn't look like anytime soon. So if there's 5 to 6 million lost, and then millions and millions that are being bought at the institutional level and taken off of exchanges and put into cold storage, right? Or even air gap cold storage, meaning out of their hands, essentially those keys taken off the internet, right? Now remember, Bitcoin doesn't go anywhere. Bitcoin, all the Bitcoin that will ever be is on the Bitcoin blockchain. But what we have and what we can take on and off the internet are the private keys to transfer ownership of that Bitcoin. So while Bitcoin doesn't move, our ability to transfer ownership leaves the internet. And so what you get is a scenario where there may only be, like Alex was saying, about 2 million-ish Bitcoin left. But what happens? I think people are going to start tracking this more and more. What do you think happens? What kind of total shitting in your pants panic happens when we get the note out from Cointelegraph or one of these places and they say there is officially less than 1 million Bitcoin left on the open market?
It's hard, because that's just that almost like it wasn't even something on people's minds until this last, maybe month or two. I do remember, though, if you recall, eToro, they had to stop the buy and sell. So it's already kind of happened in certain exchanges. So if that happens to Coinbase, I mean, yeah, I say it's good for anybody that's probably in it, because that will immediately jump the price. It's going to be an irrational jump, But at the same time, maybe it is rational because it makes sense. It is literally, I mean, supply and demand is probably the realest thing we can actually look at. So I don't know the price size. I would say that that's when we're in kind of numbers that we wouldn't have, that we could only imagine and hope for.
Do you think we could enter a phase like that this year where we get to 999,000 Bitcoin left?
Yeah, I think like Nick, you know, me and you have discussed that this is the year where I think it's almost too late if you're not in it. Not necessarily for everybody, because again, we could talk about buying in, but we're talking about from the institutional level and people that have, you know, a responsibility, you know, fiduciary responsibility. If you're not looking into getting some of this pie, right? Because it is a finite pie. Yeah, absolutely.
So my guess is, if I was to tease this out, we've gotten past the point where competent fiduciaries can ignore this. You have to at least track it. We're going to move into a place here pretty soon, and I would speculate, and this is just a napkin guess, in the next 6 months, before the end of the summer, let's say before September, I believe we will have less than 1 million Bitcoin remaining among all exchanges. Now, obviously, as the price goes up, that unearths a lot of Bitcoin because people can say they're never going to sell, but we all know that's bullshit. People will sell because people will need to put their kids in school and buy new cars and buy new houses and go floss and do all the cool stuff you do. So, but the institutional money, at least right now, is looking like it's a one-way street. And so my guess is sometime when that announcement is made, when that's tracked with more accuracy and we get under 1 million Bitcoin to go, there's going to be a whole bunch of fiduciaries that are on the firing line if they didn't get involved. And this is where the ETFs almost have to come in. And I'm not a big fan of ETFs because of all the things that they do that pervert markets. But I will say this, there's going to be a lot of pressure for Bitcoin ETFs when there's not much Bitcoin left. And institutions like pension funds, like state-run pension funds, of which 43-ish, 44 of the 51 state-run pension funds in the United States are pretty much technically insolvent and are looking for some level of bailout. That check in the United States is somewhere between, and it's hard to estimate exactly, but it's between 35 and $50 trillion, that bailout check. Social Security is, as of March, I think it's March 15th. I think Social Security in America becomes technically insolvent for the first time in history. That's $100 trillion unfunded liability check. We got $3 trillion in stimmies that just got passed today, or it's getting passed today. $3 trillion. But you say, well, $3 trillion is a lot. Well, not really. Not when you have another 135 or 150 trillion that you have to finance. And so I think that's all pressure. There's going to be a lot of pressure for the SEC to greenlight an ETF here in the United States. The one that was popped out yesterday in Canada was pretty successful. I think they did 80 million in business in the first hour because everybody wants some exposure to this right now. And yeah, is it FOMO? Yes. Is it irrational? I don't know if it's irrational. It's FOMO, but sometimes fear of missing out. Was it FOMO if you're on the Titanic and you were, shoving down old women to get to the one of the lifeboats? It is FOMO, but it's not irrational FOMO, right? It's rational. This thing's sinking. And I think that there's a greater thought that these systems of legacy finance, especially as it applies to fake monetary policy and actual fiscal policy, is breaking down to an extent where we've kind of worn out the utility of most of these sovereign currencies. So I think there's going to be a race for Bitcoin, but I think at that moment you could see a lot of pressure. So my guess is it will not be accidental that as people start talking up the lack of Bitcoin, the lack of float or the tiny little float that's left, getting close to less than 1 million, that an ETF will get bullied through. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're seeing institutions are buying 50,000 to 100,000. That's not a lot left. It's 20 institutions can do that then, right? I mean, when BNY Mellon came in last week, to me, that was when I started waking up being nervous that I don't own enough Bitcoin again. worried that I missed it. I've only been here since 2013. I think I missed it. Now that is not fair to say, because it's all about protection of wealth. You don't buy Bitcoin to get rich. You buy Bitcoin so that your sovereign assets don't make you poor through devaluation, through stagflation, through deflation, through one of a number of situations that could occur. And no one can tell you for sure what's coming. No one can tell you that inflation, all this kind of stuff. Those are all just kind of educated guesses, and sometimes not even educated. But one thing we do know is that Bitcoin's been pretty consistent in being antithetical to the greater market. So I guess that'd be my final thing on Bitcoin is betting against Bitcoin right now has just been a losing proposition forever. And it's still the most appreciating asset in human history. All right, let's talk Ethereum. Ethereum's in price discovery mode. We know the fees suck. We know the fee paradox exists. However, this moment right now, this second, of course, all that changes in a few weeks, but this second, in the whole NFT space, the non-fungible token space, the art space, the collectible space, the DApp space, the smart contract space, it all functions off Ethereum. The swap space, the DeFi space, Ethereum. Okay, we're in price discovery mode again. Very likely that as Bitcoin crushes through 56, 57, that Ethereum probably won't have any time crushing into 2000. How impossible is it to actually use Ethereum is kind of where I'm at. What's been your recent experiences?
It's ridiculous. And I even saw people who are like, oh, well, you kind of the joke. Some of these people that have made some money in the space are like, oh, it's only for people who are too poor to do the gas fee. It's like, I don't like losing $100, $1,000 anytime to move this. Like, it's ridiculous. So just, I made a small trade to get into one of these layer 1 protocols, and it was only $400 or $500, just a little exposure to it, right? Just testing it out. And it was $100 gas fee. $100. And then, we had this conversation where it's like, oh, well, let's wait to this time when the sun is, at its highest, point. I'm like, I don't want to wait. I want to move and I don't want to have to deal with this. So it's not easy. And then anybody get into the space and is for the first time has exposure to Ethereum, it's got to be the worst, because at least I think we kind of understand, right? We can kind of sympathize a little bit with Ethereum, but anybody new and is trying to, use these Uniswap and DeFi platforms and just is getting taxed. And then it's like a double tax because if you take out any profit, then you're getting taxed again. It's pretty bad.
By the way, did you see one of the DeFi platforms just got taken out by the SEC?
Not surprised. I didn't though. Which one was it?
It was, I don't want to misquote it. It was Draper's, the one he's involved in. Yeah. The SEC went in, they froze him out, and they came up with an agreement where it was decided they were going to unwind it. Wow. And I believe this is the first of many.
Oh, for sure.
Because
the DeFi is the Wild West.
It's all a bunch of very sketchy, unlicensed security showering. It is a mess. I am excited to see how it unwinds, but there's two kinds of unwinds. I believe there's the unwind from away from Ethereum as Polkadot, as Near, as Cosmos, as Cardano come to fruition. I think there's one unwind. So that's a margin erosion of Ethereum, which probably is good for Ethereum in that it will, there won't be as many people competing for space. Maybe Ethereum, I have this theory that maybe Ethereum becomes a home for purely non-fungible tokens, meaning because it's less likely that NFTs are traded as fast back and forth as like some of the DeFi protocols, which are, banging in and out of these tokens and swapping and doing all these flash loans and stuff. If Ethereum ends up as this place, kind of like MySpace has ended up kind of like as a music, curation site. So in some respect, maybe Ethereum turns into this place where non-fungible tokens can exist, and maybe the fees are a little bit more palpable, right? And then what happens is your DeFi platforms and things migrate away to other protocol layer solutions that make more sense financially, because they do tons and tons of transactions, and those fees have to be reduced. So it's kind of interesting. I don't think Ethereum, I don't see a world where Ethereum goes to zero. I see a world where Ethereum probably gives up 60 or 70% of their market share to some of these other layer one solutions that build a better infrastructure. That's just my guess. We're all guessing. Let's talk about DOT right now. DOT is close to price discovery. It was a few seconds ago. It's been banging around. It's at 33.78. It was up to $34. It's up 7% on the day. It's having a pretty good day. It's one of the top performers. It's up 19% on the week, 117 on the 30-day. What do you think about DOT right now? Are we just all kind of like anxiously awaiting this parachain offering?
Yeah, I think it is definitely a wait and see. Not a wait and see, because I think we have a lot of confidence. But I almost like it now that I've kind of looked into it. I almost like the whole 100 projects, right? And I know they can do more, but that's smart. They're vetting it out. They're not going to just have up crazy anybody that can go on. They're going to pick the best projects that they feel are going to actually build value to the space. And once they get there, I just see that DOT can take off like basically all these other, exploding blockchains. And it already has, right? DOT's already been tremendous over the last, since its inception.
It has been performing. So let me ask you this. Let's look at DOT, and let's say the parachain offering happens. Let's say it's a month from now, whatever day they choose. Well, what if it's undersubscribed? Meaning there's only like 30, 40 companies of the 100 potential slots. What do you think that does? Do you think that makes people go, hit the brakes for a second?
I don't know, because I think if you just see the community of DOT, people are super bullish on it. So I think if you're invested in it, and I don't know, the outside looking in, I think it really depends on, well, what are all of those companies doing, right? So if it's a nice kind of diversification and people like what they see, then they're okay, because again, they can always add more. And it's kind of like this is kind of a reserve club, right? So yeah, we'd have to take a look, but I don't necessarily think I don't think that'll hit the price. If anything, once they do unlock those parachains, I actually just continue seeing that's a green, unless there's failure later on.
So let me throw this at you. What if there's 140 companies that want to launch and there's only 100 parachain? Then what happens?
That could be an issue to me, because then it's, first of all, you're picking and choosing, not inclusion, right? Blockchain's supposed to be inclusive. I do know that, and I have to take a look a little bit more. They can add more, but I do know 100 was kind of what they wanted, that sweet spot. Because if you really look at it, do you really need more than 100 projects? Like, let's really break that down. Like, what do you think, Nick? Do you think that's a good number?
Could I find 100 good crypto projects right now? No.
Right. So that's the thing on that.
I probably can't point out 100 cool people either on the whole planet. After that Bogdanovich guy, after those weird twins with the big fluffy faces, pump it.
Yeah, I just don't see that you're going to see an effect. The only thing with these layer ones is once they unroll their roadmaps and get along, it's only if there's failure that I see there's going to be some real big price correction. Because I think people really do believe in the teams and what they're doing. What
if there's like six companies out of 100?
That's bad. They need to have like a third to half. And I don't know. I mean, I've heard it's going to be at least 40 to 50. So, that's positive already. And they could fill up, but I think they should leave space, right? I just think
okay. So how many of those, what percentage of the projects coming over are touching in DeFi? I mean, if you were to guess.
I wouldn't do any more than 10 on DeFi. I think DeFi needs to be a very specific, it's just, DeFi scares me. I just think that's just like waiting for regulation. There's a lot of these things where it's like, do you guys realize that we still do have sovereign powers? I know that we're in this decentralization space and we can do that, but government's still pretty scary, a pretty scary individual. So I wouldn't let that be a third of your space. I think it's probably a 10th would be what I would feel comfortable with, but I don't know what they're thinking.
Okay, let's move on. Elephant in the room, Cardano, 92 cents. It's basically flat on the day, flat on the week, up 161% on the month, up 1,500% on the year, which is pretty cool. couple of pieces of news. One is still unverified as of yet. So we're going to remember that when we talk about Ethiopia and the identity and using Atala Prism and all that kind of stuff, that's still unverified. IOHK has not verified that. Matter of fact, they came back and said, we have no comment on that. My guess is because they want to be the ones to announce the results, the deal and all this kind of stuff, but whatever. But one thing we do know is that Gene Simmons put 300 racks into Cardano last night. And he's been tweeting about it ever since. Is that the kiss of death?
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe he becomes the Elon of Cardano, right? I mean,
face of Cardano.
Yeah. No, I think if anything, honestly, I didn't look too much. I kind of heard, I think, secondhand, but the tweets made sense. They weren't nonsensical. It was, inclusive. It is the thing. It's giving people the ability, as we've talked about. Cardano has right now, it's positioned itself to give a lot of people opportunity in a place where they really haven't, right? Since, at least in the colonial time. So, no, I don't think. I think we get a little bit too overboard on who tweets on what. I don't think Gene Simmons is. First of all, I don't follow Gene Simmons. I don't think a lot of crypto people have, unless I'm ignorant and maybe he's been in this space for a while. But I don't think so.
Well, I like one of his tweets was, and it's 100% accurate. He said Cardano is cheaper than Bitcoin. Well done, Gene. Well done. Well said, sir. You nailed it. Fact 101, 100%. Yeah, it's cheaper. Okay, we're very excited about the future of Cardano, and we know that on the 24th, the hard fork, the Merry Hard Fork goes live on the mainnet, which means, well, they initiate it. It will go live March 1st. It will be on, it'll be running in flight, which is kind of like the test mainnet of Daedalus, or like the test of Daedalus, or what you might say is like the beta, just to make sure that all the kinks are worked out. And about the mid-March, it goes live, but technically it's live March 1st. I think that's a big moment for Cardano. My guess is I've been starting to hear a little bit of kind of scuttlebutt about a listing on Coinbase on the 30th of March. I mean, sorry, on the 30th of February. Is there even a 30th of February? No. So those tweets are wrong.
April Fools before April Fools.
Maybe they're talking end of March. My guess is Coinbase listing, they would wait until it's very clear that there are native assets have launched, token issuance, all these kinds of things, that once that's secure and everything is like A-OK, thumbs up, mid-March to late March is my guess for Coinbase.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that the Coinbase news is probably bigger than the Coinbase effect, meaning when we hear it's going to be on Coinbase, people that already own the token have probably staked the token, like plus 70% of Cardano of ADA is off, out, gone, illiquid. And so you have a discussion where Cardano is starting to become scarce because of the popularity of staking. So that's kind of interesting. We'll see what that does. I think Cardano is sitting underneath this $1 shelf. It's nemesis. I think when it breaks $1, my guess is there's probably not much looking back, right? If it pushes through $1 convincingly, then I think that's probably it. So yeah. And if you're staking, check out Texan Stakes. Okay. Let's talk Cosmos. Let's just scoot on past XRPs and XLMs. The reason being is I think right now we've worn out the arguments. We get it. They need to deal with their legal stuff. They will or won't in time. XLM, we did learn something interesting yesterday that apparently USDC is not exclusively running on the Stellar network. They're running on a lot of networks. And it makes sense, right? You kind of lay you put your flag everywhere so that you have the best chance of success on any of these platforms. It's like having maybe like multiple internet connections so that if one goes down, you can pop up the next one or something like that. So because I was originally led to believe that it was leaving Ethereum and USDC was going to run all of its transactions through Stellar. Well, that's not quite accurate. So we'll see. I don't know that deal means a lot for Stellar. So we'll just leave the bridge asset discussion for people much smarter than ourselves that can make up their own nonsense. Okay. Cosmos, interesting. It's not quite back to that price discovery mode, but it's pretty close. It's had a pretty good run pretty quick. It's down a little bit on the day, but it's up almost 9% on the week, 168% on the month, and 427%. So it's kicking butt. Nice. Theta, 3.69. It's up 5% on the day, 24 on the week, 91 on the month, 2,800% on the year. Pretty good year. VeChain. Let's slow it down for VeChain. Let's talk about VeChain a little bit. VeChain and Neo, its exposure to the kind of that emerging market. VeChain specifically, it's kind of moved from about a penny. Well, you can see it's up 721% on the year. It's moved from it kind of flirted with a penny to 2 pennies, and then it busted through and it got up to 5.5 cents. Well, it's got a 3 billion market cap. 3.36 billion market cap. Where do we think this thing can go? What are your thoughts on VeChain?
That's tough. It's one of the few blockchain use cases that's being used, right? So that's a positive already. It's really hard because I would have actually thought it'd be a little higher right now, just with everything. And sometimes these kind of where it's at with market cap and then just the price, I would have expected it. Let's say, what are we talking about? Are we talking long term, or are we talking about like
let's talk in terms of this year, and if it dovetails with like Bitcoin?
I think you could see 25 cents. I think that would be kind of where I would say the high point would be for that. It makes sense. Go ahead.
Is that where you would start to scale back? Where would you take profit?
Well, it depends on where you bought, right? I guess too. But I think so. We're at 6 cents right now. I mean, if it doubles, I would say 15 is probably what I take a look, or even in the 11, 12 cent range, to push that back into some other things. But again, as you mentioned, it's exposure to China, and that's hard to do. So
I don't have any other exposure other than Neo. I don't have any other proxy exposure to China. I'm certainly not going to buy their digital currency for electronic payment. That's a stable coin. Although we might all be trading in it if we're moving on and off Chinese exchanges. I'm sure it'll be listed.
It will be 100%. That will be the USDT.
So I don't know. VeChain, I kind of look at VeChain as my only real exposure. I don't have a big position in Neo. It's actually quite tiny. And it's just because it's nostalgic. Neo was the first token I had that really rocketed. And one day while I was eating, I was at, me and Brando were we were in North Hollywood. We're at Panda Express. I got the Angus steak with asparagus, which is delightful. And in the time it took for us to go through the line, it went up from like $1 to like, I don't know, some ridiculous amount where we were like spitting out our food. And then we were in there like 3 weeks later and it was up like at $56. Like, what the hell's going on? Fast forward 3 months and it's like $180. We're just like, dear God. And we were buying it under $1. So these kinds of moves can happen. And I think we're in a place right now where everybody is price fishing. Everybody's going, what is the cheapest coin that in any scenario might make me some money? People are not really looking for fundamentals at all. They're just looking for the next cheap coin. There's a lot of price fishing right now. And that usually ends up pretty badly because mostly those things will pump and then people scrape off their profit and they coalesce back into Bitcoin. But a couple of these projects will make it. I tend to think that there'll be some scalping in VeChain, but I feel like VeChain is here to stay.
Yeah.
So
I feel that as well.
That's kind of where I'm at. I think I would probably start taking some profit between 10 and 15 cents. I would take my original investment times 2. I'd take 20% off the table, put it back into Bitcoin, spin off some options against it, and then and then kind of let VeChain go because you're still earning VTHO, which has gone up itself. So that's kind of cool. Okay. Graph token. So Graph token is very interesting. It's a Coinbase venture, as is Near. Graph token is available on Coinbase. Near is not. Graph token is a solution to the problem of having new developers come into the space and having to build out all these indexing servers. So what you do is if you build out a server, you can launch it on Graph and then people can pay you a fee to use it. So they're now opening themselves up to, I believe, Cosmos, Solana, they're like these other platforms. I think even Polkadot. So you start to see that, you start to say, okay, they're smart. They're not putting all their eggs in the Ethereum basket, which I like because I was a little bit worried that maybe Graph token was going to be beholden to Ethereum. It's not, which is good, which makes me more bullish. I've changed my ideas about where this thing can go. I believe this thing sees $10.
Yeah, I think so as well. I was literally going to say, I think $10 is not out of the realm of possibilities in the next, few months from what I'm hearing from Graph. And they're just it's just a unique project, right? Like they kind of take the interoperability, but like making it easier for developers in a space that kind of is segregated at times, right? We talk about that's why we love DOT, and then the other Cardano and everything that can bring things in. Yeah, I think plus again too, the elephant in the room for them is Coinbase. Coinbase knows what the hell they're doing.
Yep.
So Coinbase Ventures have the money. They're smart. They have the people that are in the space. It makes sense for it to do easily. It's 216. It jumped crazy. It's kind of chilling out right now, but I could easily see 10.
Let me say hello really quickly because I haven't. Let me say hello to Hula, Nathan, David, Michelle, Patrick, Nicholas, Lee, Omer, Kenny, Celia, Peterson, Brad. Man, these numbers are jumping all around. Elaine, Luis, Kofi, Juan, B3. Okay, cool. Got them all there. Spirella, what's going on? Neffers, what's going on? Pablo, Gordon, Nara, Crypto 10X, and Bill. Okay, cool. I think we pretty much got most everybody. And if we didn't, it's because we hate you. We hate you. Okay. Near, that'll be our final. It's a protocol layer solution. It's a Coinbase venture. It's not yet listed on Coinbase. Many of the other projects, some are porting over to Near. So that's kind of interesting. 1inch is going to be transitioning over. That's exciting. So for me, I still think it's a good time to buy Near. I think $4 is still a good deal. If it gets under 4, I'm going to be a more aggressive buyer. Let me put it that way. So yeah, I still think this is a good deal. What do you think? What are your thoughts on Near as far as a protocol layer solution, having it kind of be involved with Coinbase, but still not available on Coinbase?
Well, yeah, there you go. The news, right? Like we're just kind of waiting. We all know it's going to have some type of price action at that point. Let's say it doubles because that just kind of makes sense, right? Yeah, Near is super undervalued right now, especially if they continue to get more projects. 1inch is a major thing. That whole DEX, that's kind of the future. Nick, you've kind of spoke about that before. So yeah, it's super undervalued and it's not really known. I only really found out about it maybe 3-4 weeks ago. Right. So the fact that it's not, I think in the mainstream of it is a really good time to buy because that's how things work here. It's always like shiniest object in blockchain. So people will just throw money even if they don't really know. It's just sometimes they're getting lucky, right? But yeah, I think it's really undervalued right now. I could see it $20-$30 in the next few months.
All these protocol layer solutions rocket ship, and it seems like they can get to $20 or $30 no matter what. In the case of Near, one good thing is it's pretty easy to stake. Okay. I think there's a 2-day lockup on it. So if you stake it to unlock with Graph token, it's a 28-day lockup. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to stake Graph token, you stake, you're in for 28 days, meaning if you want to unwind it and sell it, you're stuck for 28 days. So be cognizant of that. That being said, the staking rewards are really good. Like really good, especially now because the rewards are basically the same. And yet a bunch of people left when the price was up around 280. They still haven't unearthed their tokens. The price has come back down. I think it's both. I think it's still a good place to probably buy. I would love it more under $2. So for me, near anywhere below 3, Graph token anywhere under 2 are places where I would be adding. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. Any final thoughts on prices before we get into some of the news?
Just kind of back to the Ethereum side of it. What we learned last night, 4,400 seems to be the death blow. And that's kind of a scary thing for Ethereum because I do think it could run. And if it's useless for months, then it makes no sense. That could really hurt it long term.
Yeah, I will preface that our source of information was a mindless yob, a rube of the first order. So let's not bank too much on that. My guess is when the fee structure on Ethereum is such that your average NFT, it costs more in fees than the NFT itself costs, right? If it costs me more in fees to move my pack of cards around than the pack of cards is worth, then Ethereum's gonna have some real trouble. But we'll see. So far, it's got 99 problems, but the price ain't one, right? Okay, let's talk Gene Simmons. Bow, bow, bow. He's added 300,000 of Cardano to his bags. This dude's got bags. Kiss bassist Gene Simmons is again taking to Twitter to shill his crypto holdings, claiming to now have invested in Cardano. And here it is. I just bought 300,000 of Cardano, 88. I'm not a financial analyst. No shit, Gene. I like how he had to put that. Like we were all like, is this Gene Simmons, the hedge fund manager, or the guy with the tongue that can lick the back of his head? Like, which one? I'm not a financial analyst, and I'm not telling you to buy or not to buy. Yeah, we get it with the disclaimer, Gene. Simply letting you know what I'm doing. I like how he like writes everything out, but then for some reason the word "you" needs to be just the letter U, right?
He's a poet.
He is. Why use apostrophes? Right? He could have saved a character there. He could have saved a comma. I mean, there's all sorts of ways he could have done this. And he could have used the and. Anyway, simply letting you know what I'm doing and what I believe in. Why? Because I believe it's going up. and it's wait a minute. This is part of his answer. Okay. He believes so his answer is, Gene, why'd you buy it? He said, I bought it because it's going up and because it's up to you to research and decide. Wait, that's part of your answer of why you bought it? Alex.
Yes.
Did you buy Cardano so that I could do my own research and decide?
That's a tough one. Did I buy Cardano? I'm always getting
rambling. Goddamn. What was he? Anyway, good for Gene. Does this mean anything other than, is this kind of like a cultural, like a societal proof? Is this kind of validation on some level that maybe Cardano's breaking out of the nerdery?
Yeah, I just don't know. So I think it's hard for me let me kind of put this all together. So Cardano, I don't know how many people follow Gene, number one. If you could check that, that would be good. Again, it is showing that blockchain is mainstream though, right? Like even from all generations. That's what I will say on that. But I mean, it said that he's been a shill for other coins. I don't want to call him a shill. That's strong words, Gene. Don't come after me.
Because he's not a financial analyst, and he told you that 4,000 times in his tweet.
So like, I'd be interested to see what other tokens and coins that he's invested in, right? Like, I mean, I assume he's in Bitcoin, assume he's in a couple other ones, but I mean, this really doesn't matter. But to be fair, somebody probably will buy because of this. Like, and maybe they're in the space and they didn't really know. So yeah, it's a non-story. It's just hilarious. Maybe he'll make a song about it. You know, he'll be a part of the unrolling. He can be in Ethiopia doing his thing.
So Cardano founder and Ethereum co-founder Charles Hoskinson welcomed Simmons to the ADA community and invited him to reach out via private message if he needed any support. Let's see. Simmons engaged with some of his followers providing advice. He just told us he wasn't a financial manager. Providing advice on where they can purchase the token. Wait a minute. That sounds like financial advice. and commending them for making Cardano's price go up. Well, first, Gene, it was 96 cents last week. It's only 90. So I'm guessing the Coinbase effect is more than the Gene Simmons effect.
Yeah, that's probably safe to say.
These guys, man, what color is the sky where they live? After professing his support for Bitcoin toward the peak of his 2017 bull rally, well, we know he definitely had a pulse on the market. Yeah, right? Like, at least he isn't a Johnny come lately. Gene Simmons drifted off the crypto radar. Yeah, like everybody did that got fucking smoked in 2018. Of course he went away. And he probably told everyone that crypto shit, it's all bull crap. It's nerd money. It's goddamn, there wasn't even Fortnite then. It's Fortnite bucks. All right. But returned with a vengeance at the start of this month. Did he jump in? That courageous left in 2017 after getting crushed, came back at the peak, at the all-time high of Ethereum, the all-time high of Cardano, the all-time high of basically the top 40 tokens. Courageous step, Gene. You really nailed it. You and Michael Saylor are like basically back and forth. Over the past week, he's also revealed a spate of investments, including buying Bitcoin 7 months ago. That's pretty good. 300,000 worth of Ether. When it's trading for 300, that's a good investment. And 300K worth of Binance coin. You know what? It's a good investment. It's a good investment. So I will say this, to Gene's credit, dude knows how to make money. Because if that's accurate, he's made a 6 and change X on Ethereum. So he's made about $2 million almost off of his Ethereum investment. He may or may not be staking. Let's hope he's not. 300K on Binance, on BNB coin. We don't know when he did that, but depending when he did that, hopefully not recently, if he did it anything, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, he's made what, another 150% on his money. So that he put another 300K. So he's made about 2.5 million. That's not bad. I mean, good for him. I want everybody to make money. I'm not a hater. I want the rich people to make money, and I want the poor people to make money, and I want the rest of us to make money, because I like the idea that we can all be engaged in this space and we can all win. It isn't if someone else wins, you have to lose. It's not a zero-sum game. We can all appreciate, we can all watch our value grow compared to these fiat currencies all at the same time. So it's kind of cool. So I'm not a hater. I actually think it's cool. But Gene, just in the future, you don't have to tell us you're not a financial advisor. Everyone on the fucking planet knows you're not a financial advisor. I think we're cool there.
Hedge fund Simmons.
The Ethiopian news. I'm going to urge everyone. The Ethiopian news is not technically news yet. It's maybe news. Okay. There has been nobody from IOHK has verified this, right? What happened is yesterday, the Ministry of Peace in Ethiopia announced the launch of their national identification system. It's this really cool system where they basically onboard everyone to having a national ID, and then you could extend banking and do all sorts of really cool things. And they even pay people to go around and onboard other people. So it really is a very cool thing. And it was said yesterday, that it's based on Cardano's Atala Prism. However, the people at IOHK said no. Oh, sorry, IOG said no, not true. We're not involved yet. My guess is that the people at Cardano, if there is a deal with Ethiopia, and I believe there is, but they want to be the ones to announce it, not some random sketchy ass ratchet Facebook group. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean that's just good business. You want to the press release has to come from the company, right? You can't just be leaked, and they're not the thing with what I like about Cardano. They're not rushing anything, right? Yeah. They're getting everything right, and they're by the letter. So that, yeah, I don't think they want that to be the way everybody knows, because I mean it's kind of the speculations there, right? From YouTube to whatever. So we'll know when they tell us. We'll know when we know. But I will say this, in the next 7 days, the story surrounding Cardano, I believe, will meaningfully improve, because they're going to start talking about, and especially we're on the 19th, we're 5 days away, the 24th, when they initiate the hard fork, which again, to token holders, it means nothing. We don't have to worry about that, because hard forks through Cardano occur on the hard fork combinator, which does all the work behind the scenes. And you don't have to do anything. Nothing changes for you as a user, other than you get all sorts of new utility, which is cool. Okay. It's time. It's time to go over to this pack.
All right, look, here's what's going to happen.
Still available.
Whew, okay, listen. It's NFT. It's an NFT. It's a pack. It's 5 of them. This is the Cool Cats Drop 2. This is a big deal, I think. It cost me $14, but it also cost me like 19 hours. So if you factor in my hourly, 19. So it cost me $24,000. Not 22. All right. So here we are. We have the pack. It says we can open it. I'm going to refresh the screen one more time. If it still says we can open the pack, still says we can open the pack. Alex, I mean, are you on the edge of your seat?
I am. I mean, from what I'm hearing, there's some good value in these packs. You know,
do you know about any of these cards? If we open
I'm not going to give you. I can't give you the exact value. Obviously, that's why I gave you that reference. But I can tell you the player that's probably going to be worth something. So and the base level is 150 is what I'm hearing. So you basically should have $150 of value on the open market.
I'm nervous right now. I don't know.
So
I don't know if you're as nervous as I am. Hold on.
I'm not.
Okay, wait. We need a proper bumper for this. Do I have?
You better be careful before it stops and you can't open it again.
Okay, I just got to play this one.
You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
All right, it's time. I'm going to touch the button. Alex, you tell me, and I'll just do it.
Do it.
Okay. This is fancy shit. Should I do it?
Yeah. Okay, Jimmy Butler. Not bad. All-star, multiple-time All-star.
Bang!
Another Heat. So he's the guy that actually is like the player who's kind of their poster boy.
Ooh, that's dirty.
The common though, Chris Paul.
That's dirty. All right, let's see what we got.
You got a lot of heat. I love how this is where the collectible market's going.
It is cool, right?
It is cool.
All right, here we go.
That's probably your least valuable.
Whew. All right, we did it. Whew. We did it. Now, I don't know what any of it means.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you off the bat. I will say, like I said, Tyler Hero, he's the guy who he's the number one, not as far as value, but just he's the one who's pushing it. And he's pretty interesting because he's a younger dude. Like he's been involved with a couple other trading stuff. And then Jimmy Butler's all-star, Chris Paul's a Hall of Famer. So I'm sure there's some value there. You just would have to see now on the marketplace, and you can do that reporting on the back end.
Okay, interesting. So one pack, nothing magic, but you never know. Okay, we did it. Whew.
There you go. Tyler Hero is going to be huge. You got a comment there.
All right. Well, hopefully my number 3337 of 10,000 sounds pretty petty when you look at it like that. But you know what? I'll take it. This is my first technical NBA Top Shot. They're supposed to be doing another pack drop today, but I think they've already shit the bed on that. They've had so many fails, but whatever. You know what? It's onboarding a lot of people to the crypto space, and that's awesome. Final thoughts. What's going on this weekend? What are you thinking? We gonna relax this weekend, or is this bitch gonna go to 60,000?
We're almost at 55 right now, right? It's hard. It's really hard. I don't even, the market, when people try to say it, I'm just like, it's just be patient. That's all I tell people. Man, I really do think we could see 60K next week for sure, though. It's just one news story, one company, one push, right? And we're already, like, as you said, BNY Mellon's the biggest news basically since the inception. So
giant. It's giant.
And that's the same thing as we're talking about that float. I mean, they could buy up all the float if they wanted to. That's how that's the type of money they have, right? So yeah, I'm not going to say we're going to be 60, but I won't be surprised. I wake up not even surprised anymore at the price.
This is fun. Just remember that these very big kind of green days are, it's not always like this, but more often than not it is. I will say this, enjoy it. Everybody's like, don't get too, man, enjoy the shit out of this. Be happy, go get a McDonald's breakfast, whatever it is. It's okay to celebrate a little bit. These kinds of days are a lot of fun. If you don't ever have fun, then what are you doing, right? You want to make a whole bunch of money so you can die and give it away to a bunch of kids that don't give two shits about you, or a bunch of grandkids that don't even know your middle name. I mean, at some point you need to enjoy yourself. Enjoy the ride. As my chiropractor says, enjoy the ride. You need to enjoy the ride. Be mindful of what you own. Be able to explain it to either your grandmother or my strung out on meth grandmother. Know what you own, and then you can sleep better at night. And then when you have the up days, you can appreciate it. When you have the down days, you just don't really care that much. Take this weekend to look over your balance sheet. Make sure you own things that make sense, that are not just chasing green candlesticks. Make sure that you can rationalize to yourself why you own what you own. And I'm not saying that everything you have to own needs to change the world. I believe if it changes your balance sheet, that's good enough. Don't let anybody tell you if you're not a Bitcoin maxi. Anytime you hear people saying S coin this, S coin that, those people are too narrow-minded to be a positive influence. You need to get rid of those people, get them out of your life, get them out of your brain, get those inputs away. Anybody that's maximalist in anything other than improving yourself is foolish. There's no such thing as maximalism in owning assets. It's a silly notion. It's incredibly biased. It's tragically flawed. And those people will always give their money back at some point because they know not how they got it. There's not one hedge fund that only owns one stock. Just isn't. Just be smart is all I would say. Be willing to do some research. Be willing to be wrong. If you're wrong about stuff, if the information changes, so what? Pivot, turn course. That might mean more value in your balance sheet. Just be willing to be wrong. And I think you will have a lot of success. Most of the people that are here right now are going to really they're going to do real good. I just urge you to take this time and research and understand why you're doing good so you don't give it all back. A lot of people in 2017, throughout 2018 and 2019, they gave it all back. And they're sour as a mofo right now. Screw that Bitcoin. I sold it 12,000. All right. I'm sorry for you. So yeah, those would be my final thoughts. Okay. We are going to get the party started over here on Clubhouse. For those of you that want to join the conversation, Clubhouse is getting started right now. I mean, it's been going, but we're going to start the actual conversation. So Antonio, if you want to start bringing people up, let's build that room. And for everyone else, thank you so much. Alex, thank you for your time. We're going to do this again. I'm going to try to get another pack. We'll do another pack reveal. We'll talk more. I'm very excited to see where all this stuff goes. And for those of you that have never joined us before, don't do anything that my poor, insolvent, strung out on heroin and meth grandmother wouldn't do. And she's baking poppy.
Before you go, I think maybe, and we're seeing just from the comments, maybe the next phase of NFT Nick is actually minting your own.
Oh.
A little drive LA.
No, we could, I suppose. Oh, by the way, for anybody that's not that I dropped this earlier, but I'm going to try to get some live footage. The 22nd. What is that? Is that Monday? 22nd, Monday at 1 p.m. I have an appointment to view the new McLaren Artura. I have a private appointment. They're like,
That's bad.
would you like champagne? I'm like, no. Why the fuck would I drink champagne to drive a race car? You dummies. But anyway, I'm going to go check it out. It's a hybrid. It's a turbocharged V6. It makes about 700 horsepower. It's gas electric. It's pretty freaking badass. So hopefully we'll have some cool video for that, at least for the Tuesday show. Okay. Stay awake if you're driving. Thank you to everyone that joined us. Stay out of trouble. Bye.